on the understanding that it neither disrupts the meeting nor records those stating explicitly that they do not wish to be recorded, and there's no one in the gallery right now. Okay. So we've all got our agendas and reports in front of us, and I understand we have no apologies. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so we can just well, we have the news here now, which is lovely. In his place. Hi there, how are you doing? Good. So we'll just go around the room, and we'll start with yourselves on the left, and Lee, if you want to go ahead and start with you, introduce yourself, etc.
Councillor Lee Tyndall, Copnor Ward.
Councillor George Magic Paulsgrove.
Councillor Yinka Dinuro Charles Dickinsworth.
All right. Can we start with you, Jane, on this side?
Jane Dodino, Local Democracy Officer.
David Mormon, Strategic Development Manager for Sports and Leisure.
And I'm Matt Lowe, the Area Manager for BH Live.
Good afternoon, Richard Lee, Assistant Director of Culture, Leisure and Regulatory Services.
Hello, Lauren Rackham, Head of Community Safety.
And we've got the news correspondent here too. The news correspondent is here too. Oh, Colette. Colette, I jumped, sorry.
Colette Hill, I'm Assistant Director for Neighbourhood Services.
One of the most important people in the room. All right. Matt, good afternoon to you, and thank you very much for giving your time to come and see us. I'm sure everybody's looking forward to hearing what you're going to be telling us. Does anybody have any interest on the reports at all today? No. So we're going to go straight then to item number 3, which is a corporate CCTV policy update, pages 3 to 16. And the purpose is to request approval of the introduction of a corporate closed-circuit television CCTV policy, which will supersede the previous relied upon code of practice for the management and operation of public space CCTV. And I'm sure the officers will explain why it's necessary. All right then, over to you, Lauren.
So I'm presenting today the corporate CCTV policy, which incorporates the code of practice and brings together a singular standard for all CCTV systems used across Portsmouth City Council. As the services have expanded and technology has evolved, we now operate a wide range of camera systems, including waste management vehicle cameras, dash cams and body-worn video. The policy provides the consistent, lawful and ethical framework needed to manage these systems and images and the images that they capture. The Council's CCTV estate has grown significantly since the last review. New types of cameras are now routinely being used by services including transport, housing, culture and leisure and waste management. Each directorate is responsible for ensuring the systems they use with comply with the new policy, and consultation has taken place with all major users as well as internal audit. The policy strengthens our compliance with key legislation, including the Data Protection Act 2018, UK GDPR and the Surveillance Camera Codes of Practice. It ensures that surveillance is proportionate, transparent and justified, helping us avoid legal, financial and reputational risks. Without an updated policy, we expose the authority to risks such as an improper handling of sensitive data, inconsistent departmental practices and potential challenges under human rights legislation. The intention behind this policy is not simply regulation, but to ensure CCTV continues to support community safety, protect staff, assist investigations and provide high quality evidence for enforcement and operational needs. It also sets out clear processes for cameras deployment, privacy impact assessments, signage, third-party access, insurance claims, staff responsibilities and the secure handling, review and release of images. These measures help protect not only the public but also the Council and its staff from allegations of misuse. Importantly, approval of the policy does not carry financial implications. It is a governance update that brings consistency, clarity and accountability to all CCTV activity across our organisation. We ask that the Cabinet member approve the policy with effect from the 3rd of February 2026 and that it is shared widely across directorates and publicised internally and externally. Just to, in summary, the updated policy ensures Portsmouth City Council continues to manage surveillance responsibly, transparently and lawfully while keeping pace with changing technology and maintaining public trust.
Right, that's very clear. Before I come to our colleagues, can I just ask, we've invested a lot of time and money into CCTV over a long time, and we continue to add to it to safeguard people. I was wondering if and when local government reform comes along, the other areas that would help form this larger authority, do they have something like this in place already, or are we communicating with them in order to ensure a smooth transition?
So our immediate neighbours don't have monitored CCTV, so Fair and Gosport haven't. They don't have a control room like we do, but they do have some cameras which footage can be requested. Southampton, I think, is the closest where there is some monitoring, but it isn't 24/7.
So in this regard, then Portsmouth is way ahead of everybody else in this region for sure, and I think that helps us, and members will know, that helps us push up the number of fixed penalties we issue for a wide range of environmental crimes. Correct me if I'm wrong, Colette. There was a Friday, I know I've mentioned this before, but there was a Friday afternoon where a woman was seen fly tipping around one of the clothes bins, and this was captured on one of the cameras. And this lady was seen over the weekend, I think, and paid a very substantial fine on the following Monday. Was it £750? Have I got that right or not?
I can't speak on a particular one, but I know that the cameras that are around our bring banks, we have a lot of success in addressing the fly tipping that happens around our bring banks. So it depends how much she put there, but it's perfectly possible that we've issued one for that. I can't remember them all. Sorry.
Sure. And forgive me for teasing this one out a bit more. So when this reorganisation comes, what happens to our control room if the other councillors haven't got these things? Does it stay in place, do you know? Or is that going to be considered? I know Councillor Magic will say, yes, it will stay in place. That is what I would like. But if they haven't got any and we've got plenty, will they want ours?
Well, I imagine that's for the new authority to decide and determine, and there's be a lot of work underway ahead of local government reorganisation to understand where some authorities have got services and others don't. So I'm sure that'll be all come out over the next year or two.
Could the jam be? Would it be that the jam might be spread thinner than now? It seems to me that probably is the case.
I couldn't say at this point, Lee.
All right, it's fair.
Sorry.
Put you on the spot, and I'm very sorry, but it's something that needs to be thought about, amongst the officers and all of the councillors as to how this is going to proceed. I remember once a former Labour councillor coming here and telling us it's all about Big Brother, but of course it isn't. It's about safeguarding communities. And I just very much hope that we win the support of our colleagues today, the Labour Party spokesman, of course, but we don't have a Conservative spokesperson here to tell us what they think. Perhaps they'll email me later on and let us know. Should we go in order? Councillor Tyndall, do you have any observations or whatnot?
Well, the only one would be just to pick up on Councillor Hunt's point of do we have the capacity to expand, basically?
Yeah, we can add more cameras. We've just recently added some cameras, and it's a bus project, so there's more cameras at bus stops throughout the city now and on buses, so we've got access to all of those. And we have, over the last 5 years, we've increased our redeployable camera suite, so we've got about 40,
47, I think.
something like that, yeah. redeployable cameras, and they can go up and be remotely accessed. So there's definitely, we can definitely expand what we're doing if we need to. So it's all funding dependent.
Expand and export. Let's hope so, and let's hope that the service can pick up some income in this regard by delivering these, what would be to some authority, new services to new areas. Councillor Madgwick.
Do you know if the CCTV is managed by Hampshire County Council? Because obviously it's different, I know it's different authorities, or is there literally just not the control rooms and stuff in Havant, or are the Havant Gosport Fareham cameras monitored by Hampshire perhaps as a council?
They're not. They're all managed by the local authority individually.
Yeah, see, I'm with you, Councillor Hunt, on this again. It's this is one of the fears I've got about local government reorganisation is in your terms spreading the jam thin. You know, is diluting the thing. This has been one of my main concerns since local government reorganisation. I think we've also got the conversation with like community wardens. A lot of the other authorities don't have community wardens. So what happens to the small team that we've already got, which are already quite stretched across Portsmouth? Are they all of a sudden going to be stretched across 4 other authorities as well at the same time? And I think that's along with the CCTV. That's always been my concern, where we can see definitely a trajectory where council taxpayers are going to be paying more and the services are going to be less for Portsmouth. I think it's going to be better for other areas because all of a sudden they're going to get services they've never had. But I think certainly for Portsmouth, I think we've got this real concern where, as I say, they're going to be paying more and definitely receiving less of no fault of their own and no fault of a stringent council that's overseen a really good budget over the last few years to keep these services in order. So it does alarm me. Local government reorganisation is a negative thing in my opinion. And I guess the team just needs to do what they do to try and integrate as much as possible without losing services to local residents.
And thank you for that, and I agree. And the officers are doing it. We raise it all the time with officers to make sure that if it happens, and I'm afraid the government seem intent on doing it, if it does happen, we're at least trying to get integration ready ahead of time. That does not mean that we agree with it at all. And I think we must really understand how much support and assistance that this CCTV system has given to the Hampshire Constabulary, an enormous amount, and helped solve some quite very serious crimes and areas. So this is the big brother argument, isn't it? The areas where there isn't CCTV, they are more vulnerable. That's why people put on Ringo, etc. on their doors, and I know I'm preaching to the converted. But CCTV is important. That's why we need an ethical policy to make sure it's implemented wisely, and so that people aren't frightened of it, because it protects our employees and it protects the public, and it goes to the truth, really and truly, as we've seen from America. Yinka, did you want to come in on anything?
Thank you so much. This is very good, especially in the area of fly tippings. And you will know what I'm talking about, especially in the area of Buckland area. So how do you intend to distribute, is it neighborhood by neighborhood? And then how do you intend to use them in case if somebody was caught? Is there going to be any punishment and all that too?
So the public space cameras are fixed within the city. There's a map online on Portsmouth City Council's website under CCTV which tells you where all of the cameras are. The public space ones are there permanently, we don't move those. The deployable cameras, where there's about 47, they go to where there's demand. So if we've got a recycling bank or a street where we're getting lots of issues with littering and fly tipping, we'll then move the deployable camera to where it's best needed. Or if there's the police sometimes ask us, or if we've got a big event in the city, we'll move them to meet the needs of the city. Some councils have ward-owned deployable cameras, so those ones are specifically normally to a problem which reoccurs. But generally, we move them every 3 to 6 months, depending on the demand. Once, especially for recycling banks, once a few people got fixed penalty notices, they'll stop littering and fly tipping there, and then we'll move it to the next one.
All right. Is there anything anybody else wants to say? I mean, parks, We use CCTV a lot as well. But where we've got CCTV, lighting is important too, to make the CCTV more effective. And the great thing about the changes, it shows how it all knits together. The putting in city Wi-Fi and the cable fibre rather than copper wires improves the picture quality of evidence gathered, and of course they have a deterrent value too. So without further ado, if everybody's happy, then I'll agree the officer's report, and thank you for doing it. And as ever, would you pass the thanks of all of us back to the CCTV control room and everybody else involved for the very good work that they do. Okay? Yeah, much obliged for your attendance. So now we move on to agenda item 4, which is the animal welfare licensing update. Another very important report, Mr. Lee.
Thank you very much, Chair. This is an information report only, but I thought it was important to bring a report on animal welfare. It's not a very common report, but there was legislation introduced in 2018 which required us to implement a national statutory licensing regime set under the legislation which is identified in section 4.2. The 2018 legislation consolidated lots of other legislation into effectively a new act which required individuals who were undertaking an activity in relation to animals in a safe and appropriate manner. The legislation was designed as a risk-based framework to ensure that minimum requirements of animal welfare were maintained. Those areas requiring licences, I have stipulated all of them in section 4.3, and the areas which the regime covers I've highlighted in section 4.4. And you will of course be familiar with all the necessary requirements for key animal welfare issues, suitable environment, proper diet, ability to express their normal behaviour. Enrichment is included in that, appropriate company or solitude depending on the type of animal concerned, and protection against pain, suffering, injury and disease. The scheme also sets out a 5-star rating scheme, which is very similar to our food safety standard regime, and I haven't provided it with them in the report, but effectively 5 stars, 1 star is issued to businesses which don't meet the minimum required standard, 2 and 3 stars depending on where they sit within the reporting of their business, is that they meet the minimum standard, and 4 or 5 stars they achieve a higher standard than the minimum standard. And it also helps business who are performing well to dare I say, be left alone by the regulatory services because they have been proven to be performing well. So to give you a flavour, if a business only has a 1 star, we will inspect them each year, 2 stars, 24 months, 3 stars, 36 months, and when you get up to 5 stars, it could be only every 3 years. Of course, we will investigate complaints about businesses and we'll carry out unannounced visits should they be required. But that is the basis of the 5-star regime. The regime also covers other establishments, and I've identified dangerous wild animals, and there are people who wish to keep exotic animals in their homes, and that regime is covered under this animal welfare narrative, and also zoos, of which we have a couple in the city, and we also have a riding establishment which falls under our animal welfare responsibilities. In terms of the service, the regulatory services team administer the regime, and they have to do so via suitable qualified officers. And of course, as you expect with any regime, they carry out inspections, they issue licenses, and they get involved with varying or suspending and revoking licenses as is necessary. The current situation in terms of the regime, these activities were carried out by the business support team. They're now being carried out by a single officer within the environmental protection team. But the future is that we hope to transfer this across to our pollution control team. Whilst it may not be a good fit with the name of that team, it fits in with their responsibilities in terms of regulation and enforcement. With regards to performance, I've set out just a couple of years of performance between April 2024 and October 2025. And I'm delighted to say that business are performing very well in compliance with the requirements of their licence and the conditions applied upon them, with the vast majority, 90% of businesses, achieving over a 4 or 5 star rating. There have been 1 or 2 incidents of poor performance, but they are rare, and I've just identified one for your information, and that's in section 5.2. What I would say is licence holders, quite obviously, because we engage with them a lot, have a real passion for what they are doing, and they want to look after their customers' pets, or indeed their responsibilities for animal welfare generally. There is a huge passion in the businesses that we engage with, which is very encouraging indeed. The latter part of the report focuses upon income generation. You can see the income is low, roughly £3,000 a year, and that's one of the reasons why we've now bolted on these enforcement responsibilities onto the pollution team. Good fit with their existing, as I say, the existing skill sets in terms of regulation, and it's something that the income doesn't facilitate us to employ new staff, and it never has done since its conception in 2018. You can see in section 5.5 we're training 3 staff, and we're planning in total to have 5 staff trained up, and they can deal with these responsibilities for the local authority. I have provided a case study, a zoo, which is perhaps may not be thought of as a zoo, the Portsmouth Natural History Museum. I won't run through all of that, but it was just a demonstration in terms of the butterfly welfare in that premises, what the team at Portsmouth City Council have introduced to look after those insects in a very appropriate way. And I'll highlight 1 or 2. There are concerns where if we don't care for them in their environment, in the enclosure, and they escape, then it could impact local native species, because a lot of these species aren't native. So have a read through that case study if you haven't, and it will just demonstrate the scope of the work that goes on in that establishment to ensure that those creatures are looked after very well indeed. The rest of the report highlights information tables just to provide the scope of the number of licenses that we're involved with. There's only one noticeable standout, which is Home Borders for Dogs at number 45 premises in the city. The various other licenses that we monitor in low levels. Fees and charges, just for your information. Costs we've covered. Officer actions, really demonstrating that there is a little bit of work to do, but it's manageable by the pollution team when we cover that over. And in conclusion, the report offers some reassurance to members that we offer a well-regulated but a very appropriately regulated environment. There's high levels of animal welfare in the businesses which are registered, and those businesses are performing well. Thank you very much, Chair.
All right, that's great. It grieves me enormously when, this is an adjunct of the report, when you see animal cruelty. We've seen it at Swan Lake, which in the news reported the swan that was stamped to death. I can't imagine a more horrible way of killing an animal. And then we saw that poor American bulldog, the pictures of it in the news again, that was starved to death in a woman's home in Sultans Avenue. And we, the council, have prosecuted people on the hill for cruelty to horses. And one case where a person was found to be unlawfully breeding dogs, and we took him to the magistrate's court, and the magistrate's court banned him from breeding dogs, but allowed him to keep dogs. Astonishingly, only recently, my family were in that vicinity, and we found a dog that had been used for breeding, and she was running around on the road, a dear little thing, and she got swept up and taken to our absolutely gold-class kennels, who receive gold awards every year from the RSPCA, I think, isn't it? The RSPCA awards. I can't remember which one it is, but I had the pleasure of going up with them, and they work really, really hard, and they look after dogs up there really, really well. And now I have that little dog number 4, who's very dear, and she's a lovely thing. But when she first came to us, her boobs, her nipples were on the floor, where she had been bred so much, but she had clearly escaped from somewhere. Anyway, she's all right now. So I very much welcome reports like this, and I very, very much welcome the activity of this tenacious council in seeking out cruelty and safeguarding animals, whether they be in people's homes, and we can't go into people's homes, but when this is brought to our attention, together with our partners, the RSPCA and Swan Safety, Swan Support, and others, we go after the people who are cruel to animals. Pain is pain in human beings, in animals, in dogs, everybody. You can see I'm extremely passionate about it, and what we see going on sometimes is just so harrowing. Anyway, I'll stop there. Thank you very much indeed for the report, and I'm sure members are better informed now about what it is, some of the other things that we do. And I know Councillor Madrick likes dogs too. He got a pet called Freddie and Rolo. Two. So, but we all love our dogs, don't we? Portsmouth loves dogs and their cats and their ferrets, and lots of them have own exotic birds too. Of course, Danny Chambers, the Lib Dem MP up there, and we just has done a good job around this sort of thing. So we just build on that all the time and hope to prevent the sorts of cruelty that the news brought to light about that poor American pit bull. Absolutely awful pictures of the dead dog. Members, should we go with the dog owner? I don't. You have a dog, Lee? Oh, well done. Yeah, 2 of mine are.
Just a quick question. Is sort of, we've got about the information about the number of licensed lawfully. Have we discovered a number of unlicensed?
When we get intel, we will. People can make complaints about people keeping dogs, and remembering that these activities that we're focusing on are people who are basically saying they've got a commercial interest in animals. But we get lots of inquiries around people breeding dogs, and that is a licensable activity, but there are caveats in any legislation. There's lots of additional information, and you see how I pulled out in section 4.3 that it doesn't become a commercial activity unless there's 3 litters in a year, or if the income is over £1,000. So we get lots of intel via social media, etc., where people are reporting that there are irregular occurrences of breeding at individual premises, could be domestic, or indeed that there's evidence on social media that they're selling them for large sums of money. So that's a standout one in terms of breeding of dogs, but it could be other creatures as well. And yes, we will go and investigate those. We've got some limited powers in terms of access, etc. We've got no direct power of entry, but we can obtain power of entry if we believe the level of evidence to support that intervention is obtainable, because we'd have to effectively go to a court for those powers. Excuse me, but in answer to your question, yes, we do receive complaints, particularly about those kinds of areas.
We'll go to you, Yinka, this time.
I've just got few questions here. The first one is about the fees and cost recovery for 2025-2026. You made mention something about local authorities set fees to cover application, inspection, and enforcement costs in line with statutory guidance. However, they failed to cover the full operational costs of performing this function. So how did you then how do you manage? That is the first one. And then the second question is, okay, maybe I should allow you to deal with that, and then I can then ask the further questions.
Thank you. The fees and charges are really determined by the amount of time that we spend on doing the inspection of premises. So some will take longer than others. So if we're involved with the zoo, for example, that might take longer. The aquarium is the other example of a zoo. The fees and charges are generally set about the amount of time that officers spend. And I think it's appropriate for us to recover those officer hours. But as my point was, and in highlighting the relatively low income the local authority gets, is that it doesn't secure a separate officer to deliver these responsibilities. Very small sums of money, and that's why we've had to bolt them on to various services within the regulatory team. The fees and charges, I think, are, and we do benchmark with other local authorities, and actually we perform very well. Our fees and charges are less than some of our near neighbours. That's a different narrative about why we levy these charges. I think they're fair and appropriate for what we are delivering to the businesses of Portsmouth.
Okay, so who is responsible for paying this? Is it the...
It's the person who requires the licence from us. Okay. Because we engage with them, we need to do the inspections, as I've explained. They may take time. We've got a number of very important, requirements for those licences. Obvious ones which I ran through, but less obvious ones as well. So that's the amount of time. We've got an officer hourly rate for our team, and that's how we calculate the fee.
Thank you. So is this review every year, or it just...
I mean, our fees, our costs go up every year because our staff cost more to employ every year. Generally, what I try and do is to build in efficiencies when we're doing it. So the more familiar the officers are in carrying out this enforcement regime, the less time it will take them to deliver those. So we keep an eye on those fees and charges. We'll do we'll do what our finance team requires us to do, which is the annual percentage in line with inflation. But in terms of doing anything else to those fees and charges, it's very irregular that we do so. We may review it every 3 or 4 years.
Okay, so thank you so much. The last one, how often do you carry out your inspections?
I'll reiterate the points within the report. If we get intel about inappropriate practices, could be complaints about a business, then we will carry out additional interventions, unannounced visits and such like. The star rating scheme, I think I said that for a 1 star we will inspect every year, 2 to 3 stars. The example I gave, if it's a 2 star every 24 months, 3 star every 36 months, rising to 5 stars, and we might only attend every 3 years. Because that business is performing well, we've inspected, they've got everything in place, there's no need for us to intervene more regularly than that, unless we get complaints.
Thanks, Lee. Yeah, every day is like a school day. This is information. I like this. Why I like being a counsellor, because you find out new stuff every day. I didn't realise it was like this intricate. So just confirm, the fees and cost recovery are two separate items. So the fee is a yearly fee, is it, that we collect, or is it a one-off fee?
No, it's every time it requires the intervention in line with that timeline I set out.
Fine.
Which is a benefit for obviously the business. Good high score, low fee.
Okay, yeah, that clears up my next question. Yeah, no, it clears up my next question. I didn't know if it was like licensing where you pay like a yearly fee, for example, which would explain why the income is low for the amount of people that we got registered. And the only other thing I want to say is about the pet shops. How do we define a pet shop? Is it only stores that contain like rabbits, guinea pigs, that type of thing, or is it any pet shop? Or and do aquarium type places that just sell fish, do they count as pet shops, or how do you distinguish those?
Pet shops are quite limited now to what they can sell. You don't see dogs in pet shops and cats and those sorts of things. So the range of animals which is available generally are birds, fish, small mammals such as guinea pigs and hamsters and rabbits and those sorts of things. So the legislation really defines what a pet shop consists of. And when we inspect a pet shop, that might take longer, because there are sizes in terms of the housing, that even temporary housing that a bird can be kept in, the enrichment the bird has, companionship for a lot of creatures. They need that, the enrichment, so that they, their lives are fulfilled in terms of even being kept in a shop environment. So the rules in terms of pet shops are quite strenuous. Reptiles is another area which will fall into pet shops. They can sell reptiles and snakes and those sorts of things.
Nothing further, thank you.
All right then, so Portsmouth City Council then, I think it's quite fair to say, is actively involved in enforcing animal welfare legislation, licensing pet-related business and investigating illegal activities and cruelty. So we will bear down on that. And all the time I'm at the helm here in community safety, we will be as tough as we can be on people who are cruel to animals. And just touching on the previous report, the CCTV system comes into this too, around Canoe Lake, helping the police and the RSPCA and the PDSA and all the others in their work. So thank you very much for updating us. And as Councillor Madrick has indicated, he has learnt. I'm sure all councillors have learnt. It was much better when we had the committee system. Another change to cabinet, which was a bad change. When we had the committee system, you'd have 9 or 10 or 12 councillors in the room on a committee, and this kind of information would be coming out, and you always had 1 or 2 at least from each party, so the interesting stuff could be cascaded back, and I'm sure you'll do that. But it was a much better way of cross-pollinating information, worthwhile information, and I think councils were way better informed before that, and now LGR is just going to make things worse. All right, let's move on then. Sorry? Yeah, you're off. Thank you ever so much indeed, Mr. Lee. Congratulations on to the teams on their recent raids and all the activity around all of that. More good work. So I've asked Matt to come. There's no report here, but then I was sent the BH Live update, and it's just full of non-stop good news. They do stuff week in and week out. We're coming up over the half term. You see all the stuff that's going on at the tennis centre up there. And you see all the stuff that's going on at Charter Academy with the badminton. I mean, it's just non-stop good news coming out of BH Live. And Yinka, before you go on about the pyramids, which you mentioned last time and how we shut the pool there, I must remind us that the previous Labour group, they wanted to bulldoze the pyramids, and I had a cartoon knocked up of Councillor Ferret sat in a bulldozer with a big old, what they call them, George, with the old smashing thing. Anyway, there he was on the bulldozer, gleefully looking at me, and sorrowful me, and there he was smashing through the pyramids. So not only did we sort the pyramids out, it had a £1 million a year subsidy. It was a very serious matter and couldn't go on. So he didn't get his way in Labour didn't get their way back then of bulldozing the pyramids, and now it's performing a useful function and is coming into profit, I think, Matt. You know, you don't have to go on about that one in particular, but I just thought I'd remind Yinka before she jumped in the pool, over the pyramids pool, okay? There we are. So here we are. Look, Matt, just tell us about all the wonderful things that BH Live have been doing and want to do. Oh, yes, go ahead. Yeah, please do. So sorry. I've seen it before, so
Thanks, Councillor.
sorry about that.
So just to sort of set the scene a bit, and so Matt has a bit of time to gather his thoughts. So BH Live published this annual report fairly recently, and we're bringing it at Councillor Hunt's request, just to highlight their activity in the city, and an opportunity for you to ask Matt some questions. So BH Live is a charity. Its charitable aims include increasing participation in physical activity. Those aims align very strongly with national strategy coming out of Sport England, local, the Hampshire and Isle of Wight physical activity strategy, and of course Council's corporate priorities. BH Live operated the pyramid since 2013 and the rest of the Council's estate since 2017. They also operate leisure and sports centres in Bournemouth and Southampton. And we, as the city, have benefited from their specialist expertise in managing leisure centres. And we've seen participation, which is our aim, to consistently grow under their watch, aside from the pandemic, of course. So this report covers the last full financial year and outlines a successful year in terms of participation, financial stability and growth. Just note that BH Live do operate entertainment venues, other authorities, or they're not in Portsmouth, so there will be a bit of this that perhaps won't apply to us. And I'm really grateful to Matt for joining me to answer any questions that the members may have.
Yeah, and I'm sure Matt will talk about, will explain to you how they cross-pollinate, bringing best practice to other places, and conversely, with the Andrew Simpson Centre and all the other sports venues in the city. So Matt, over to you. Lay it on with the trail, my friend.
Thank you. So, yeah, I think it's keen for me today to emphasise our social impact on the city as well, and we're really trying to work on BH Live being more than known to people as just pools and gyms. We are a lot more than that. Our social value has grown again year on year, and we're delivering about 6.4 million of social value currently in the city of Portsmouth. You'll see a bit of detail in that in the report as all the regions that we deliver social value to, but 6.4 million in Portsmouth currently, with aspirations of growing that further this year by adding to resource of our teams that are working closely with Andrew Simpson Centre that you've mentioned, where we're delivering funded swimming lessons for over 300 kids currently. We're about to increase that. We're also expanding that across to Bournemouth as well with the Andrew Simpson Centre, so that's really going strength to strength. And then, as I've said, going from more than just pools and gyms and touching on the Exploria, that we've already mentioned, as recently as yesterday, Pyramids has just been shortlisted for Attraction of the Year at the Business Awards later in February, which we hope we may win that, which will be a great accolade for the Pyramids as well, as it seems to keep going from strength to strength. And hopefully an exciting time for BH Live as a whole within the city of Portsmouth, that we're on the cusp of expanding the current operating contract, and following that will be some exciting investment opportunities for ourselves to invest in the sites and really bring the like of the Mountbatten Gym into the state-of-the-art gym, and really will be the best in the city.
Wow. So, I mean, the sports that are available up there, we've got athletics, we've got swimming, we've got free swimming for under 12s, free swimming for under 12s with the half-term coming up. We have badminton at Charter Academy. We have the tennis centre. We have the all-weather pitches, a new climbing thing where Britain won the young lad from Britain won the gold medal at the Olympics. Toby, what's his name? I can't remember his last name. His first name is Toby, and you know, the city is really well served by sports and venues, and of course it's only going to get better when we bring in the new sports centre at Bransbury Park, and we continue with the, hopefully, the more edgy sports. I mean, the first one I got involved with, got in against officers' advice at that time, was the wakeboarding at Hilsea Lido. I had to fight to get that in, and look how it's taken off. The officers told me, oh no, you can't do that. The water's got, you know, it's no good. So we investigated the water, and it's brackish water, so it's got salt in it. So there's no fear of people getting upset tummies. And I suppose you're drinking enough, you'll get an upset tummy. But yes, and look how that's taken off. And now we're seeing the Hilsea Lido regeneration. I mean, it is fantastic. That, of course, was with a great deal of support from the former Conservative MP there, Penny Mordaunt. Hats off to her, and I hope she's at the opening of the new regenerated Lido, because she deserves to be, quite frankly. I have made my views known about that. And it just all over the city is an enormous number of sports. BMX, we see the skate park under the over at the former Sainsbury's. It's just, it goes on and on and on and on. And if you sit down and list it, which I like to do in the council chamber, but I only ever get 6 minutes, you'd be there all day about what we do. And this in the, you know, this in the face of £100 million a year cut out of the city council budget. And that's by working together in the council, and that's by working with partners like BH Live and all the sports governing bodies. It is a tremendous portfolio of sports and venues. By the time I leave, I very much wish that we had an indoor velodrome. That's always been my hope for the south of England, but I don't think it's going to come off because British cycling's got enough of them around the country. And indeed in the European Championships at the moment, the Brits are bringing home gold medals across the things, and indeed in snow sport, for crying out loud. We're now winning gold medals in slopestyle, in skeleton, which I watch avidly. And it is tremendous. And some of that too down is to another decent Conservative Prime Minister, which was not David Cameron, it was one before him. Oh my goodness, the cricketer. No, he likes playing cricket. What was his name? No. Oh my goodness, how can I forget his name? Council House boy. I was guessing game now. It's like a quiz, isn't it? Come here for a quiz. What was it? John Major. Did you say John Major? Oh, I beg your pardon. Okay, well, you can have the prize. I can't hear very well. John Major brought the lottery in, you see. We had that awful Olympic Games where we came back, was it Montreal or Los Angeles, with one gold medal. And since then, look, there's no looking back. Just goes to show what you can achieve even with reductions in money. That isn't an argument for reducing money, because you can do a lot more still. But most grateful to you. I think you undersold yourself a little bit. And I hope that we've sent that press release you sent to me to the news. Do you know Tobe's got it? It's gone to the news. Did you get that? Do you remember? Good. All right. Yes, it's well worth talking about. It's a major success for our city. It saves council taxpayers money. It delivers good services and a range of sports that some cities can only dream of. But we don't have diving. Southampton has the diving. We have the proper swimming. I'll go to Councillor Madrid first of all.
Yeah, I don't really have much to add on this one. I think the sports in our city is great, and I think you were talking about the.
You didn't mention football. Brilliant.
I know. No, that's all right. You carry on, mate. Carry on. You know, we have had recent success with Olympians. I tell you, I always like to highlight the 2 wheelchair basketball players that we've got in Paulsgrove. That we funded through CIL, and the leader did give a discretionary amount of money to support them as well, which was always really appreciated. And they went obviously off to the Paralympics and did really well, and that's 2 local Paulsgrove girls. So, you know, we've got some real success in this city of sporting highlights. And you know, boxers is another thing. We're really good on boxers. We've got a lot of boxers. Ebony Jones and Michael McKinson, amongst many others. Joel. Yes, we got a really good city of this stuff, and I think a velodrome would be lovely. Do you know, when I was young, I loved the velodrome idea. Absolutely loved it. I think if I fell off now, I'd probably break every bone in my body. But when I was younger and fitter, maybe it'd have been lovely. But yeah, I'd back you on that one if you want that one.
Have you seen the steams on the walls? They're almost vertical. Incredible. Very brave. We'll go to you next, Councillor Tyndall.
Yeah, just to clarify for the people that are watching, BH Live don't control all of our sports facilities in the area. So when we're talking about the review, it's just the ones that you control. Just in the participation and membership, the figure in here about 30,000, 10% extra, what's that specifically for Portsmouth?
So for us, it's been the exercise referral programme has really grown to our second largest membership within the city currently. We're seeing more and more being referred through social prescribers, doctor surgeries, GPs. That's just going from strength to strength. Currently, we've got about 10 to 12 week waiting list for first appointments, which sounds like a very long time, but it's actually quite quick compared to other competitors and operators in other areas of the country. And it's really about us getting out and about and making sure we're in the doctor surgeries, delivering out like a Buckland Community Centre, etc. So really, it's been on the health and wellbeing side of things we've seen that growth. So currently members across the city, got about 6,500 between the Pyramids and Mountbatten, and then you can add another 2,500 swimming lessons on top of that as well at Mountbatten.
And is that up on previous years?
Correct, yeah, we've seen growth despite some operational disruption around the roofing project at Mountbatten, etc. We still continued and recovered from the pandemic numbers as well.
Just sorry to be a bit more specific, is in that breakdown of new members, are we seeing sort of the older age bracket, or are we looking at the younger participation in that?
So between the facilities we've got, we see actually really varying mix. So your Pyramids, for example, tends to get a younger demographic. So more of the student population tend to migrate towards the South Sea area, the Pyramids, naturally closer to Ravelin, obviously where the student blocks are. And the Mountbatten Centre is a very older demographic, but a much wider catchment area, obviously in the north end of the city, which we see varying age groups across there really. But the retention is the key for us. We're seeing really good retention now where we are starting to drip feed investment into the sites. People are staying with us for a lot longer, which is really good to see.
Yinka,
Yes,
don't jump in at the deep end.
Don't worry. So, just a quick one. I remember you made mention something about free swimming for under 12. I remember it used to be for over 60 before too. Are you thinking of bringing that back or no?
So we do currently do discounted rate for the senior citizens and OAPs. We have just reduced our membership age category for that range as well down to 65. It was at 67 for our members, so we brought that down to 65 and reduced the price on that ever so slightly. So hopefully we see more pick up on that. Whether we look at free swim in the future for that age group, I can't commit to right now, but the under 12s is going from strength to strength currently, but certainly something I can take away from this.
Thank you. And then for that under 12, is it during holiday or just throughout the year?
No, so that can be any time, any of our public swimming sessions outside of our premium sessions, which we class as sort of your wet and wacky, your float sessions, but general standard public swimming is free all the time.
Thank you. Then I remember again, it used to be free for any resident in PO2, and that is how I learned swimming as well. So I don't think nothing of such is happening again. No.
No, not at the moment, I'm afraid. No, unfortunately, not currently.
Okay, thank you. That was a very good report.
Yeah. So I think that Councillor Tyndall, you're right to remind me that it's not just BH Live. You've got to look at what the Royal Navy does, for example, at the tennis centre down in just on the edge of Old Portsmouth. And you look at all the facilities that schools provide and the sheer number of coaches. And in my own community centre, Golden Gloves Gym, for example, to touch on boxing. And of course, these all receive from various times community infrastructure monies and and from the Lord Mayor, grants. And before we finish on this, the other most important ingredient in this that officers know that I go on about is coaches and coaching. Without a decent coach and good coaching, these young people, older people, don't make progress with what they are doing. And Councillor Madgett, you're right to touch on the enabling or disabling stuff that we do. So we have Laura Stedman. She's still based at the Mountbatten, but she's the para triathlete who won the gold at Olympic before last, actually. And then if we look at Priory School, we have the badminton centre that the City Council put 50 grand into in order to, what's the name of the charity again? The Tom King charity. Very, very nice boy. He died, and his parents have been fundraising to help these sorts of venues for many years now. So yes, it's a wide range of integrated sports and integrated facilities, but what we are lucky is that the BH Live have brought, I think, a cumulative amount of experience and knowledge, which it is cascading out to everybody else, thereby pushing up the range of sports and the interest and the experience that they have. Anyway, so thank you very much indeed, Matt. Keep on sending the press reports, the press releases, please, and I hope that we'll see from the news plenty of airing of all the stuff that's gone on over half term, and that gets our kids off the streets if they want to be off the streets and into useful activities, and future elite athletes of one kind or another. Okie doke, that's great. So thank you very much everybody for attending. Sorry to go on so much, but my enthusiasm, as you know, is non-stop.